especially the unit. So for example, there was this question once in an AS paper, or AS paper ka, I guess it's a P1 paper, so obviously uske andar interestingly us MCQs mein A B C D चारों आंसर सेम थे, मगर चारों आंसर को डिफरेंट तरीके से लिखा हुआ था. मिसाल के तौर पर A ऐसे लिखा हुआ था, फॉर एग्जांपल. B जो था, that was written like this. C was written like 2 into 10 raised to the power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into plus 5, and so on and so forth. So then, for example, D was written in the form of. So we had to choose what was the correct answer. So it turned out when we did the calculation, more or less the answer was the same. This is a bit off, but the correct answer was supposed to be this. Maximum 3 significant figures is what you should go by when it comes to an answer. And by the way, if your answer is in magnification, so remember that jab tak aap magnification ka x nahi lagaoge, x40, x50, to phir aapka answer will not be regarded as valid. Okay? So that's important to remember as well. Okay? And then, of course, when we, and I'm going to obviously use a little bit of more time here. Okay. Minor best fit describe. जी अगर कोई चीज बन जाए उसको यार erase तो करना पड़ेगा. That means that आपको पेंसिल इस्तेमाल जो है वो करनी पड़ेगी, और ऐसी पेंसिल इस्तेमाल करें जो कि sharpened pencil हो. Sharpened pencil आराम से raise हो जाती है, as opposed to pencil which is unsharpened, and you know it's going to give thick lines as well. In fact, you might get marks cut up if you use too thick lines. Okay. Tables drawn का को पूछ रहा है. Tables drawn, if sometimes, especially in 0610 वाले, टेबल ड्रॉ करना आ जाता है कभी कभार. टेबल ड्रॉ करने का बेहतरीन तरीका ये है कि आप चेक कर लें कि क्वेश्चन के अंदर जनरली क्या चीजें दी जाती हैं. वो जनरली आपको इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल दे देते हैं, या आपको खुद पता चलना लगाना पड़ता है इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल कौन सा है, और डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल आपको पता लगाना होता है कौन सा है. सो ऑब्वियसली दैट डिफर्स. ठीक है. So that's what you have to determine. And when you do that, then obviously there has to be a significant number of readings that you have to go for. So for example, if it's effective temperature and enzyme activity, then independent variable will be the temperature. So here in temperature, you will write TEMP temperature, and then you have to write the unit. And once you write the unit here, you do not write the unit below. Or dependent variable क्या है कि temperature change हो रहा है, तो साथ साथ क्या change हो रहा है, enzyme activity है. So enzyme activity किस तरह पता चलेगी? For example, अगर आपकी chemical reaction ये है कि H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide, is being broken down into water and oxygen, and किस तरह gauge की जाए कि catalase enzyme जो है वो कितना successful है, तो oxygen कितनी निकल रही है syringe के अंदर. The more the oxygen, the better the art layer. So dependent variable probably could be, once again, the number of oxygen bubbles, and then you can time it maybe in a minute. So you write in a minute, per minute, right? Number of oxygen bubbles per minute. So obviously that doesn't have a unit as such. So obviously then you can make your own temperature 20, 40, 60, 80. Always remember to ensure that you use at least 5 to 6 readings. That gives the best impression. And obviously write the number of oxygen bubbles. अब जानते हैं कि 20 degrees Celsius पे अगर let's say 6 oxygen bubbles है तो 40 पे सबसे ज़्यादा होने चाहिए. 60 पे से कम हो जाएंगे क्योंकि denaturation हो जाएगी, and maybe 80 पे उससे भी कम हो जाएंगे. So this is basically the scenario regarding tables. Erased lines, yeah, again, just try to ensure your best कि erased lines ना नजर आए. ठीक है. Sketchy lines आपने बनानी है नहीं. Sketchy lines वो तब consider की जाएंगी अगर उनको सही तरह erase ना करें आप. This is, I'm basically addressing Ayan Basit here. And then we've got normal pencil भी use नहीं कर सकते. Normal pencil use करें. Normal pencil आपकी HB की ही अक्सर होती है. I'm not putting you to a quandary. I'm saying that if you want to be absolutely sure, just use an HB pencil. That's better. ठीक है. Minahil Saif, how to plan an experiment. I'm just about to talk about that as well. I have this Instagram video as well that I can share with you later. I don't know how, but I guess you can just join this particular Facebook page in case we log out and you guys don't get to come back. I'm not advertising. I'm just telling you because it's over there. So that's called Biology with Emil Shukuri. So I'm just going to talk about it in a bit as well. Another question, sir, अगर सेल के वैक्यूल में लाइट सी लाइंस बनी हुई हैं तो वो ड्रॉ करनी होती है. सेल के वैक्यूल के अंदर लाइंस ड्रॉ करने की जरूरत नहीं है खुद. But having said that, you're supposed to draw whatever you see. Just don't sketch it or don't shade it. Just draw whatever it is that you see. And then X456 क्या लिखा होता है? X456 is the magnification, the number of times that particular photograph in the question mark has been magnified. ठीक है. 2-line graphs at the same time doesn't matter. You can make them. We can look at a question regarding as a planning experiment. Light intensity is independent. It totally depends on the question, but yes, most likely if you are the one changing the light intensity, that is independent. Remember, independent variable is the one that you change, that you manipulate or is being manipulated. इसका तरीका अक्सर कभी कभार देखने का ये होता है कि left side of the axis पे independent variable होता है, right side of the table पे dependent variable होता है, but that's 99% of the time, not always. What's more important is to look at the trend. So देखो 20, 40, 60, 80. So एक खास gap diya maine 20, 40, 60, 80 like that. So that's going to be important. And dependent variable, obviously it's all over the place because it is dependent on the independent variable. And that's why independent is on x-axis and y depends on x. So y is dependent variable. So I hope that makes sense. Right. Thank you for that. Okay. Right. Okay. So let me just go forward because again, I know questions are coming aplenty, but I want to actually address some things before you guys go and study on your own. And that basically, okay. So since majority are asking regarding that, so I'm just going to go with that. But before I go for table, मैं एक चीज भूल ना जाऊं, इसलिए सिर्फ sorry मैं mention कर रहा हूं. Recently 5090 वाले बच्चों के लिए है introduced via 6010 वाले address करते थे, was to make slides. How to make slides. Now again, like I said, I don't know how many of you have been in the lab. But the important thing is that making slides का question 3 mark का भी आ सकता है, 5 mark का भी आ सकता है. Totally depends on the number of marks, by the way, given. ठीक है? And then so what do you need to do? So making slides के लिए, it's important that first of all, what is a specimen? So for example, they're asking you to make slides of pollen grains under the microscope, right? So first of all, it'll be important to crush the anther, right? Once again, crushing the anther doesn't need a grinder this time around. Of course, you're not crushing apples. So maybe we can crush the anther just by using a glass rod. Okay. Or something that's or maybe even a spatula, if you will. Okay. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Okay. And then you've got to add a drop of, it could be water, of course, or it could be the stain itself directly. So it could be any stain. So it could be iodine stain, or it could be methylene blue stain. Iodine, remember, is brown in color. Take it. And you place, either you already have, or you place the, the pollen grain sample on the slide. So number 2 and 3 can go up and down. That's up to you. Then the base thing is to replace the cover slip. Replacing the cover slip is the important thing to do. So replace the cover slip that you have to do while dropping one side carefully using a toothpick. What does that mean? So a visual could be that, for example, this is your slide and this is your cover slip, the small one. What am I saying? You've added the drop, you've added the specimen, and now you put the cover slip like this. And the blue color thing that I made is the toothpick. So you're going to ensure that you easily are able to cause from one end ye niche hua hua hai, dusre end se isne niche aana hai. So what you do is you ensure that this cover slip just goes on top, and voila, that's what you do. To ensure, and this is going to be the 5th mark for that. Yeah. So that's going to be, to ensure rather, this is my 5th mark for you guys, to ensure no bubbles form, or to remove bubbles, air bubbles that is, you can do 2 things. You could either gently tap the cover slip from the top. Again, that's a very gentle tap. Or the other thing is you could gently, and this is sometimes a bit risky to do, warm the slide. That actually might work as well. Finally, remove the extra liquid that sometimes happen on the sides of the cover slip by placing, a tissue that absorbs it. Okay? And so this is basically what it is. This is how you're supposed to ensure that you make the slide. All right, just ensure that that happens. Okay, now coming to the main thing. Now, as I stated before, I'm just going to do this, and then let's go quickly over a question, and then we'll conclude for the day. Now, the important way to do this. In fact, you know what? Let's just stop. Let's not waste time. So if you allow me, all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually pick out a paper here. And
yes,
since
sir, I allow you.
Yeah. So I'm going to allow the, yeah. Thank you for that. ठीक हो गया. चूंकि हमने, and I'm just going to use 0610 का paper either. Because I'm going to use the 0610 paper, don't worry about it. It's going to be relevant to both. So this is what I'm using. And इसी के अंदर एक question आएगा. And we're going to look at that. Okay. So let's see if you're able to do this. Now, this is the paper of February, March 2023. For those who've been doing their preparation well, means that they will be able to, discern that what question we're doing right now. But in a sense, if you take a look at this, it says student investigated the effective surface area on the diffusion. The student used the following method. So you can look at the method in front of you. Okay. And what is the method here? The method involves cutting the 4 cubes from the potato, number 1. Number 2, putting the potato cubes into the methylene blue solution for 24 hours. Okay. And then we have what? After 24 hours, remove the potato cubes. So like I said, do this similar thing. You got to have 4 cubes of potato, and all of them were of different sizes. You got to put them into methylene blue solution. Okay. So methylene blue solution, in it went, all of these together. And then after 24 hours, you got to remove them and rinse them in cold water. Fill the 4 test tubes with water. So you got 4 test tubes. So you can draw the 4 of them. Place 1 potato cube into each test tube. And you did that exactly. Remember that they've already been dyed with methylene blue. And then you tasted it for 15 minutes. Some of the methylene blue will diffuse out of the potato cube into the water during the 15 minutes. And then, of course, we got to shine light through the water in the test tube after 15 minutes. Okay? And then we have to measure the percentage of light that is absorbed. Remember that what's going to happen, ज़्याद रखिएगा कि अंदर आपने क्या रखा हुआ है उन potato tubes को, जो कि पहले से क्या हुए हुए थे, dye हुए हुए थे. So that means कि the darker the color of the solution on the test tube, the greater the rate of diffusion, isn't it? Methylene blue utna hi bahar nikla hai. The lighter it is, the lighter the rate of diffusion. Okay. Now, iske andar, they're going to ask you state the independent and dependent variable. So I need to be able to discern between the two. And I also need to know what to do. So I can't just write what the independent variable I think is. I need to read what it is. So for example, isme kya likha hua hai? Maine kya cheez change ki hai? Check kar. Each cube of a different size, and that is precisely it. I'm a different size ka word istemal nahi karunga. I'll be a bit more scientific. I'm going to use the word surface area of the cube. That is precisely what it is. And then dependent variable ki iske basis pe kya change ho raha hai? Kya change ho raha hai? It's pretty obvious ki maine mentioned ki rate of diffusion, but a better answer would be that you actually see how the rate of diffusion is going to be measured. So rate of diffusion will be measured by, take a look here, percentage of